Hello and welcome to our Team Alpha podcast, episode number 4. My name is James MJ Watling, former professional athlete and fighter, founder and head coach of Team Alpha, based in Alnwick, Morpeth and Jesmond. This podcast is a focus on all things that improve the human spirit, with a special emphasis on sports and the martial arts. For any listeners out there who watch the rather awesome series The Boys on Amazon Prime, you will know of the character named The Deep, played by Chase, an actor and former male model. Well, our next guest shares some of this work in this profession, but also a love of water with the character The Deep himself. A former competitive swimmer whose mum had wanted him to learn how to swim after living next to a lake, he found that he had a natural talent for the water. He also features as a professional DJ and current director and creator of the very successful swimming business, Making Waves. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Aitken.
I felt like that needed a drum roll at the end of that, James. Thank you very much, mate. You put a lot of added extras in there. I wouldn't have described myself
well, it's all
quite
true.
as many words.
I just Googled Scott Aitken and see what came up.
Come up, country director, Making Waves, yeah. Teach kids to swim, James.
Well, for the listeners, I keep wanting to say viewers, but for the listeners, they missed out on our rendition of Mother Lover by Justin Timberlake
and Lonely Island.
And Lonely Island, yeah, you should have been there. We might put it in there at some point.
Maybe we will.
But listen, thanks for coming in tonight. It's really good to have you in. I hope. Did you find the place okay? Everything? I only had 20% left battery on my phone, so I just didn't put the postcode in until I got into Jesmond. Right, and then
I was here.
And went from there. That's awesome. Well, look, I wanted to have you on for a while, particularly for tonight's episode, because tonight's episode is a focus and emphasis on entrepreneurs. And as I said in the introduction, as I mentioned in the introduction, that you direct and basically founded and run a very successful swimming business, which obviously a lot of all the leisure industry has taken a bit of a hit during this current situation. But as an entrepreneur, how did you get started? How did you start with Making Waves? So Making Waves is your current business. How did that come to be what it is right now?
Yeah, okay. So you want us to go right back from the days?
If we go right back, just introduce yourself a little bit and how it progressed to becoming a swimming coach and all the other things that you'd been through.
So I started off obviously when I moved house into Asherton, and I lived next to Wansbeck, and my mum thought probably a good idea. Boys, when they're later, they're going to be making Tarzans, jumping into rivers and stuff. I mean, people used to do that instead of playing on tablets, believe it or not.
Oh, right, before then.
Before the phones, we used to climb trees and jump out.
Yeah.
Just in case you're watching this on some kind of handheld device or listening to it through some kind of software. It wasn't around then, James. We had a Walkman.
That's right. There was Walkmans. Remember Discmans? I remember Discmans.
Big CDs that were black. Remember them?
I remember those. We didn't have internet, kids. We didn't have mobile phones.
No, we didn't. Yeah. We used to come home when it was dark.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, your mum shouting from the top of the table.
That's right.
Days on the table.
The days of C90 tapes and C60s and recording tapes to
Transformers, the movie.
This is the real Transformers.
This is another reason we're here, isn't it?
This is the real Transformers, the animated Transformers. That's exactly it.
The best film ever.
Not the Michael Bay, I'm going to say parodies, I should say.
Mind, I watch them. If they're on, I don't switch them off.
Well, they're not for me.
I haven't seen the 80s one back in a while.
You can't beat it. You can't beat them.
No, so back to, obviously I moved house, went in with my mum, dad, my brother was born. My mum thought it's probably a good idea to get some swimming lessons for the boy. I kind of went in and up into Asherton, started doing group lessons. I had I don't know how old I was. I think it was about 5 or 6. And I remember getting my 10-metre badge off Nicole, my first swimming instructor. She was my teacher back in the day in Asherton in the small pool. That was a million years ago now. But she's nearly 50 odd now.
Right.
So time's changed. But so started swimming, got quite good, got recognised, kind of popped into the swimming club at Asherton. So I swam most of my time spending, I wasn't out chasing bits and bobs when I was old. I was kind of swimming and getting it dived in, doing all the training sessions that came under the sun, and kind of just focused on that. It was a good thing for us to do. It was social, it was good for us. I was keeping fit and healthy. I wasn't just sitting on the streets on my bike, till late. I was working. It was hard work. Did competitions at the weekend, so it kept us busy there. And, it gives you something to aim for. If you had PBs, if you had sort of the targets that you need to get, it give you little mini goals.
PBs, personal bests.
Personal bests. Obviously, you want to improve on your times and your racing and stuff, but there was a way to do it. You have to push hard, and your coaches obviously give you that leg up, which is kind of what I've kind of molded myself into, if you like, but we'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, so I went in Ashton Swimming Club, swam there, did most of my younger times there. I think I left, well, I got kicked out, I think, but I don't quite know what happened because I was 11. I think it was my parents, it wasn't me, but I don't know anyways, it was just one of them. So we ended up moving up to Blythe Swimming Club, continued my progression over there. It was different though, because you went from a 20-yard pool at Ashton, and then the pool that we were going into was 33 metres. So for the first 4 or 5 months, I was I was reaching for the wall. Like, the wall should have been there, and I had a little bit extra to go. And obviously that was just extending the training, getting used to the new surroundings and familiar with that. Did that for probably, I continued my competitive swimming until I was about 16. I also took part in life saving, so I took part in Blythe Life Saving Swimming Club. Did nationals, did regionals. I represented the county in Northeast. I represented the UK twice. Went to Bulgaria.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about that? About being selected for the team?
Obviously, you've got to be quite good to be part of the UK squad. It was just it went on national times and went on how he performed in the nationals and how, under pressure and all the rest of it. And I was only 16, bless us. I mean, I'm not joking. I was a small 16-year-old, A lot of people would start puberty when they were 16, 17, and they'd have, they'd be shaving their faces. When I got selected, the athletes that were there, it was 19 and unders, the category. So I was already 3 years younger than the main competitors, and they were shaving down. They were shaving their legs. They got told to shave their bodies. It was really, really serious.
Just for the listeners who aren't into swimming, so the reason that you would shave because it reduces drag from the water on the body.
Apparently so. I mean, I don't witness it. I didn't do it, but to be fair, I didn't have any hairs on my legs to begin with, anyways, nor on my face. Yeah. So went to Bulgaria. I was the reserve there, so we did quite well. It was an outdoor pool, and I remember doing the competition. It was hoying it down with rain, absolutely chucking it down, and the competition didn't get called off because the swimmers had to swim in this rain in this freezing pool. It was tough, and there was jellyfish that. Yeah, it was great. I just had this conversation with one of the lads. I had a meal at Morpeth yesterday.
Right.
Went for Thai food with one of the lads who I went to UK squad with, Craig. Right. And we had all this conversation about all these misdemeanors that we got up to and how fun it was and stuff. Like, I lost my passport and everything. We'll go into that later. But the professional side of it is not the daft. There's no daftness at all.
So how many countries were represented at
it was European Junior Championships.
So the European Junior Championships held in Bulgaria.
And
you're representing the UK. Was it an age category or would
it was under 19?
So under 19, so the best swimmers from...
It was the best swimmers from the whole of Europe representing their country. I was, obviously, as I say, I was 16, they were 19, but I made the team, I was good enough, so slotted in there, represented them. I did all right, and that was that. And then the following year, we did it again. We went to Italy that time. That was a much better, it was a bit like swimming in paradise, to be honest. So it was a great experience for us. And this was all whilst I was 16, I'd become a lifeguard and kind of went in that direction. So we did well there. I kind of dropped the swimming in when I turned 16 because I wanted to be a lifeguard, which kind of fell suit within Blythe Lifeguard Swimming Club. It was kind of just, that was the finishing post, if you like. You'd go through all your grades and you'd think, do you know what, I'll finish it off on a lifeguard session. Yeah. So you'd end up being a lifeguard. It was great. It was a brilliant social life. We used to have presentations. We used to travel all over the country with this life-saving club, representing the team, and it was just bliss. It was one of the best things I've ever done.
How does that work then? So when you join the lifeguard squad, and you're saying that you're traveling around the country. So are you giving demonstrations? Are you competing as lifeguards?
It's competition. So it's right. It's a strange one because it's like what you'd see on the telly, just with little bits of extras. It would be tough for us to even describe on how it's different. For example, you would have to have a rope laid out, the 15 meters. There'd be a person in the water hanging onto the back of a rope, waiting for you to coil that rope up as fast as you can, throw it out, so they can then catch it for you to then drag them in as quickly as you can, and that would be an event. Yeah. And that would all be done within 10 seconds. If you're real good. I mean, I don't want to blow me on trumpet. I did click the world record a couple of times whilst I was training at Blythe. But when pressure's on the day, if you underperform or if you miss one coil or it doesn't go out, you could try. You can develop your motor skills as much as you want. On that day, if there's something just goes off, there's a little switch there. You've lost it, which is it does happen to most athletes, not just myself, I'm sure.
Yeah, of
so
course.
we always get a bad day. But yeah, man, we were good. It's a strange one, but it's relay teams as well. So it's more team based than what it is individual with competitive. But because you've got the competitive background, you kind of got an edge over it. There used to be a lot of people that used to do life-saving competitions where they weren't competitive swimmers. They were just doing it for fun. So that really kind of, their swimming let them down because you had competitive swimmers coming in and kind of driving that forward. And obviously they would be selected first because you want to win the medals and you want to, the club wants to do well.
Yeah.
You're not just there to take part, you're there to give it your best shot, which is what we used to go out and do every time.
Yeah.
So it was pretty important for us to fly the flag as much and as hard as we can. We kind of knew our opposition as well. So they used to try and tactically change their teams. It was just like football, you'd change your squad for this one because you want to win it, or you want to try and get both of them first and second. So you'll drive your best team instead of splitting them and trying to get a good second and third. You know what I mean, within the team. So you all had individual swims to do, but it all just added up towards the end for a big finale. You had to do an incident, which is what it was like. Basically, you were hidden from the pool. You were in a team of 2 or you were in a team of 4. It was called an incident. And what you had to do was you had to run on the pool side, and basically there was a scenario going on with about 5 to 6 different casualties. You had one on pool side, you had a drowned person in the pool, you had someone who was a weak swimmer, you had someone who was dead, there was a mannequin at the bottom of the pool which you had to get, there was someone with an injury with a cut arm on the side of the pool. So you had to run in there full of panic, given 1 minute 30 or whatever it was, it might have been 2 minutes, to assess the situation. Find your first priority on who you're going to save first. Get your help as much as you can. Get everyone in and gather all the swimmers in without putting yourself in danger. So say, for example, you would have to go into the swimming pool and not use contact because you're putting yourself at risk. So you would be using aids on the side of the pool. Now, sometimes it would be tricky. They'd be hiding aids and stuff. So people would miss really, really obvious signs and be like, I didn't even see that there when they'd come back and look at it. And you'd get bystanders on and you'd go, all right, have you got a mobile phone? And they'd tell you that they have. So you can then tell them to ring an ambulance. You can then tell them you've got 2 unconscious casualties or you've got 1 conscious casualty not breathing. So you assess that with 8 or 9 different people. It's like being put in a panic room and then trying to pick the right decisions at the right times to bring them all in. Yeah, within 2 minutes. So there was a lot of times we managed to clear the pool and we got massive, massive cheers and everyone else, because everyone else would watch it. You'd get all the spectators looking down on you. There's only you going in there. So when you finished it and go, oh, they've missed that, or they did well there because they picked that up and nobody else has. So then you were then watching to see how other people react. So it was a completely different, I preferred it than the competitive swimming because I liked the joke, I liked the carry on, I liked the there was a disco at the end that I used to enjoy going to, and that was just where you could let your hair down and then mingle with the groups instead of you kind of being like, well, don't speak to them because they're a different team.
Yeah.
The banter was still there, and obviously we could let our hair down on the way back and just kind of, it was completely different, the competitive side of swim. But because you had that competitive edge, it made you want to drive and do well with it.
Our first sponsor is Luxfolio. Luxfolio Real Estate looks at real estate from a more creative perspective, offering a modernized service and approach to all of your real estate needs. Their services include buying, selling, renting, and leasing. They provide a world-class service that knows no limits and can service your property anywhere in Dubai. At Luxfolio Real Estate, you don't simply represent another buyer in the market, you are a priority and a part of a highly successful team. They can be found on Luxfolio at Facebook page and info at luxfoliorealestate.ae. That is info at luxfoliorealestate.ae. So you're saying you're about 16, 17.
Yeah.
And so you're still at school. I'm assuming you're still at school. You're at high school.
So I went and did my ES levels because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
So that was my question. So you're at school. Obviously, you have this foundation now. Because I say a lot. What I say quite a lot is that. So if I'm in schools giving talks, etc., to younger kids, I'm saying that if you don't know what you want to do, that's fine. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do until probably my mid to late 30s. But it's always, I believe it's always beneficial to have what I call a foundation, an interest that you can build into a foundation. So something that you're doing, whether in this case it's a sport for you, it's a sport, it's swimming. So you've got that not just competitive history, but you've got that interest that which you built into a passion, but you have that foundation of swimming. and that gives you then something that perhaps in the future you can monetize. Now, it could be that you've got an interest in YouTube, you've got an interest in graphics, and there's all these apps you can use nowadays. So I'm interested so you've got this foundation of swimming. At what point did you, or two questions, at what point did you think that, I'd like to know what happened when you were 17, 18, 19, so you're leaving school, you're working, I don't know, we're going to find that out, but at what point did you think perhaps I can turn this into a business? Did that come into your 20s?
Yeah.
And also, side on, because I mentioned before that you DJ professionally as well.
Professionally,
you paid to DJ, and you've got a great reputation in the Northeast as a very established DJ, and you've been headhunted by other clubs to work there. So when did you when did that interest in music come in, and then how did you monetize that as well? So they're the two areas I'm interested in.
So number one, so obviously when I got to 16, it was more like, unfortunately money makes the world go round, not swimming up and down in the pool. That's where it kind of changed for me, and I knew I had to save for a car. I knew that insurance wasn't cheap. So the time that I would have probably spent going up and down in the pool, I kind of wanted to make money, start the money train and get money early, because you make hay whilst the sun shines. Like my granddad used to own Mr. Softy Vans. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but it was an ice cream factory back in the 70s, and it was really successful. But he was obviously mostly seasonal, so it was make hay whilst the sun shines. And I guess a lot of things kind of rubbed off on us with that, where you've got to do it now and not wait till a week's time, 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time. So I was a lifeguard at Concordia Leisure Centre. I was a lifeguard at Blythe Leisure Centre. I was working for, it's active Northumberland now. I can't even. It was Blythe Valley Arts and Leisure, I think it was back then. So I was there for a couple of years. I was doing some swimming teaching for the swim coordinator there, and I was also teaching one-to-ones in another pool next to the QE2 in Ashington. And I don't know. I felt like perhaps I was being slightly underutilised as far as the swimming teaching went. I felt like I had my own spin-off, if you like, and I don't know, I kind of wanted to branch out and just do it on my own, because obviously it's something I enjoy doing, but I didn't know which direction I was going to end up in. So my mum knew about a swimming pool in Morpeth. It was in a school, but we didn't know what the usage was or anything like that. So I was doing the teaching from 16, 17, 18. I think just before I was 19, I made a phone call to a school. It was Collingwood School in Morpeth. Rang them, and I just said, look, I'm interested in using your pool. This is my idea. I put it forward that I wanted to come in and utilise the space that isn't being used, and I offered to teach her school for nothing, for free as part of it. Obviously I was paying money to be there, and 6 weeks later I was company director of my first company at 19, just before, I think I was 18.
Wow.
So yeah.
What was that called?
It was called One-to-One Making Waves. I was in a business partnership with someone who I used to work with at Concordia. But yeah, that was the first business venture.
And how did that go for you? I mean, what would you say were the main objectives you found putting it up? What was the main I don't want to say benefits, but the struggles that you had, let's say, in getting that business established, and then perhaps some of the struggles maintaining that. But then also, would you say there was the one point when you were looking to set it up that really drove you or really benefited you in some way, maybe an individual or a turn of fate or something that happened that kind of allowed everything to fall into place?
Well, it's a weird one, because obviously, look, it is a part of it. Being at the right place at the right time is a part of it. Just portraying yourself to be a nice, genuine person helps. It's not skin deep. If it's inside you, it gets recognised on the outside, I feel.
Yeah.
But you've got to take the no's first. You've got to, part of building where you are, you've got to take 10 no's before you get one yes. So if you get 5 no's, you give up, then that, that's not you getting your PB when you're 6 and 7 year old trying to beat that time. There's no option to give up. Life, if you give up on life, then it doesn't work in your favour. So it was
knowledge bombs, people.
Yeah, there you go. It is true. That's what happened. So I ran that for 7 years. It was going great. I think it was word of mouth that got me that business off the ground, first of all. My teaching, the reputation, doing over 600 kids a week.
Wow.
Schools, we had 3 schools, 4 school lessons, 4 school classes coming in. We had a little swimming club in there. We even had a rivalry against Morpeth Swimming Club, actually. Now, we were just the kids that we were teaching were in the water for half an hour a week, whereas the kids that they were teaching, they were doing 4, 5, 6 hours plus a week. They'd do morning sessions and the rest of it. And you know what? We'd give them a good run for their money because we were teaching a competitive standard of swimming. And so I must have had about 16 staff, 17 staff come through. It was great. It was ideal. Few issues came up later on in the, as it always does. Sometimes business doesn't work out for everybody. Sometimes you get your clashes, you get your waves. You learn to ride the storm, don't you? But it's like what we were talking about, fate and luck and all the rest of it. I got slightly unlucky as well. So I've been lucky and unlucky. So we agreed that the business partnership wasn't working for certain reasons. So I kind of stood up with that, and we were going to go for it separately. Where it didn't kind of work out because a little incident happened to me, which we'll not go into too much. So I was supposed to be there on the 26th of June at 10 o'clock in the morning for this meeting to go through what we're going to discuss for the future of one-to-one making waves. And I was actually in hospital, had been glassed off me, one of my ex-girlfriends. I was in a bit of a critical condition, so I had 30 stitches in my face and a severed artery. So it wasn't the best, but I sent them an email at about 6 o'clock in the morning after I'd been in through theatre and had sorted my face out, and I sent them a picture of my face saying, "Oh, look, this is what's happened. Due to my absence, can we please, I'm not there because I don't want to be there. I'm not there because I'm in a critical condition, and can we reschedule?" So nothing went past. I think I waited about 4 or 5 hours and received an email back just saying, "Oh, sorry, due to your absence, a decision's been made. We can only sympathise with your situation," which kind of, after putting it in place, getting it together, starting it up, and then asking someone to come on board, it was kind of a really big pie in the face. I think that hit us hard. That was the hardest thing that I've ever taken. Well, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was walk away from my business on the 21st of July. I think it was 2009, perhaps. And it was difficult to watch everyone else that I'd brought on board continue working and watch the kids that I was teaching had nowhere to go. It was horrible. But fortunately, during that time, or whilst I was working at Collingwood School, I decided that I went into the nightclub scene. So I used to go out quite often.
Well, it's interesting. So that business, you've been essentially, that business has ended under those circumstances.
It got renamed. It got renamed.
So you've been ousted from a business that you founded essentially. Obviously, there's no revenue coming in from there. So you basically, it's rock bottom time. Where do we go from here?
Yeah. So fortunately, I kind of knew that I need to keep fingers in pies, just making sure that you've got more than one entity, because if you rely on one thing, that's your whole world that crumbles around you if that disappears. So I used to go out quite a lot, me and my friends. When I used to work at Concordia in Lifegarden, there used to be a few lads in the gym that I used to go out with. So from the age of 17, I was out a lot of nights, but drinking the water, drinking the Red Bull, going to work in the morning and then going out on the night time, same again, because if I started at 2:30 in the afternoon, I could have a lie until 12. There's no skin off anyone's nose. So yeah, that used to happen quite regular, and I used to get quite friendly with some of the people that used to run the clubs and the nights up there in Newcastle. So I don't know how it happened now. There used to be hostesses and hosts. I don't know when was the last time you were in Newcastle, James, but a while ago.
A little while ago, yeah. Yes. I do remember one night being out, and it was that critical point where I was like, right, if I drink anymore, this is going to get serious right now.
It's already
and
serious.
It was last bus or last train home time. And I was thinking. And I remember starting to message you, and I couldn't find, because I was going to say, because I knew you'd be DJing to see if Scottie, can I get back with you? Because I knew you were in
Lost Profits, last train home, eh?
Yeah.
So yeah, as I used to go out, obviously this is in between me doing my lifeguarding thing before I'd even started making waves. So I ended up being a host, which was it was kind of like you used to walk around half naked, top off.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, most of the time, all your photos on Instagram is that, isn't it?
Pretty much, about half.
Yeah, about half. Good percentage then. But yeah, so I got invited to basically stand with me top off and have tub straight on my body, and yeah, it was money for nothing, really. I didn't get a lot of money for it, but it was instead of spending the money, I was still out with the lads, and people came to see us, and it was a good venue to be in, so I enjoyed being there, and it was for nothing, really. But I enjoyed it. I started fire breathing in tub. It was crazy. And I used to go around different venues doing fire breathing and all the rest of it. So it was just part of the fun of being out, really. So that's kind of how it started. And then I was supposed to be doing I was doing like topless butlering as well. I think that's one of the reasons why I probably got together with that. So I was supposed to do a butler job in Tiger, but they hadn't told the premises that this was going to go on. So I obviously rocks up with me bow tie ready to go, speaking to the supervisor, being like, look, where's this party at and stuff. And she was like, oh, we didn't know anything about this. I was like, look, I felt nervous as shit. Do you know what I mean? Like being in there with loads and loads of people in a public bar. It wasn't a private party; it was a public bar. So I'd kind of just whispered to the supervisor and said, "Look, I'm quite happy for you to say no to this, so I can just get out of this." It was one of them. It was one of them awkwards. I didn't know that you didn't know, and I'm here now. So let's just we'll nip it in the bud, and I'll go and have a drink with them instead. So kind of worked out like that. But at the same time, I kind of whispered in it. I was like, "Look, I'm a DJ. If you ever stuck, I only bought a set of decks for house parties and playing around with. I didn't actually touch them. They were just dust collectors in my house. But I spanned myself a little line there and give myself a little bit of an opportunity. So I got a text about two or 3 days later saying, "Oh, do you fancy coming for a gig?" So I went up and I was working there. So that was a Friday night and a Saturday night up at Tiger. That was one of my first few gigs, and that's where I kind of started from there, really. So I was doing Friday, Saturday nights permanently anyway. So during the time I was teaching at Making Waves, one-to-one Making Waves at Morpeth, I was doing the DJing at the same time. So I could, if I lost one, I could still rely on the DJing as well. So as much as the whole thing that I created with one-to-one Making Waves, that obviously disbanded and fell down, I still had a lifeline that I was going to be okay for now. And it would give us, because I'd been knocked down, I knew the setup and knew how to work, knew how to speak to someone about a swimming pool, knew how to build a business and create it, and go. I wasn't going to give up, but I needed to wait for the opportunity at the same time. So I spent about a year looking for different pools, sending emails out, getting nothing back, getting things that were just beyond us as well.
I'd just like to talk about one of our other main sponsors, AIM Leisure. AIM Leisure was established in 2016 as a fashion sportswear brand and has developed to be a well-respected wholesale supplier of trend-led quality uniform and promotional clothing, both to boutique gyms and sports clubs, using UK manufacturing facilities and an entirely British supply chain for raw materials. You can contact them on www.aimattheleisure.com. That is www.aimattheleisure.com. AIMATHLEISURE.com, and you can also find them on Instagram at AIM Leisure, and that is AIM AIM Leisure. So you're working now as a DJ, so you're sustaining yourself as a DJ.
Literally Friday, Saturday, I was off all the rest of the time.
And whilst you're doing that, you're looking to perhaps restart some form of swimming business.
Yeah, always in the back of my mind. It never wasn't. I knew that I was never going to just sit and, this is me now. I knew I was going to get up off my backside as and when I was ready to do so. Given the opportunity, then you go for it, do you know what I mean? But you try and get the opportunities as much as you can, but it doesn't come to you straight away. You don't get that instant pot of gold. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. You've got to take the shots first, take the knockdowns, take the no's, accept them, and not be frustrated at them. If they say no, it's for a reason. Do you know what I mean? It's not just because they don't like you. They've got either something in place, or they're quite happy with the service that they've got, or they don't know anything about you. A lot of things happen with, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Like, I'm a full believer in that. Like, if you portray yourself as a nice person, anyone asks about you, you're a nice person. So it kind of works to your favour if you I don't mean put a play on or be someone you're not, but
if you're respectful, if you're genuine, if you use nice or even kind, compassionate, but also a strong person,
people can see
people
it.
respect that.
Yeah, and they can see it. The feed off you, they can see it, and
it's a good line. Feed off you. I like that.
They absorb it. They absorb it, and you absorb them. If they've got the same energy as you, or they've got energy about them, or you've got energy about them, even though this meeting you could have been the 12th meeting of the day, you're repeating the same stuff. If you've got that energy about you, one time it'll get noticed and they'll go, do you know what, this is a good thing, let's take an opportunity, let's take the risk on this, because I like the idea of it and I like this energy, as opposed to, I don't like what I say on this bit of paper, because a bit of paper doesn't work that much as what, talking to someone does and seeing in their eyes what they're feeling, what they're thinking, how they're responding. It's a lot easier than that, and then having a conversation on the phone or doing it via emails, because you're not a robot. You can't express personality on an email.
knowledge bomb people. This is the point of this podcast, episode 4. When you rewind 3 minutes and you listen to it, okay? So what Scott's just told you there is absolute knowledge. And 2 things. He talked about the 12th meeting. It's the 12th meeting where you get it. It's not the 1st. It's not the 5th. It's not the 10th. It's the 12th. Could be the 15th. Could be the 20th. Second thing, the energy that you're giving out is recognized. People recognize that. Most importantly, filling in forms, sending off emails, filling in, Q&As, whatever. It's being on the phone, but being in person. Being in person. It's always about people at the end of the day. And if you can get in front of somebody and show who you are, that will be recognized. That's appreciated.
100%.
People will remember a face and an energy.
Yeah.
They're not going to look at words. You could have all the experience and all the credentials in the world, all the qualifications, but it can't make up for just having that person in front of you. But, we're not talking con jobs. We're talking about genuine.
Yeah, 100%. I don't even know where I was there now.
No, that's we have when we get some knowledge drop, we have to acknowledge that, pun intended. So you were just at the point now where so one-to-one making waves is over with DJing. So you want to restart a swimming business. Where do we go from here?
Not just wait for an opportunity, go out and get it, isn't it? It took us a year to be given an opportunity of someone who I knew that worked at the Nuffield. But as I say, it was someone I knew there who knew what had happened to us, who wanted to help us because they enjoyed my energy and they knew who I was. If I just sent them an email, they wouldn't have been bothered about it. But because they know of us, they know how passionate I am about what I do. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to us. So they can see that, feel that, and they're obviously reaching out to help us. I didn't ask for the help, but because they've seen what's going on, they're like, look, I'll do anything to help you because, you've got good energy and I'm your friend more than anything else. So I get given this opportunity to go have a meeting with somebody with regards to, paying X amount a month to just basically do some one-on-one swimming lessons. I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. I didn't want to do more than, I didn't want to take over the pool. I didn't want to be a nuisance. Kind of want to just drip feed into that place because I didn't want to, as I say, ruin whatever they've got or become a problem as soon as I arrive. So they agreed that we were going to do that. So went in. It was like a staggered payment system, so we started building my clientele base up. All my kids that moved from one-to-one at Making Waves in Morpeth, I'd now started me making waves. It restarted. So the name came with us. The teachers, I brought a couple of teachers that used to work for us back, and the name stuck. So straight away, once the post started going out, people were like, I can't believe you're back in the water. This is amazing news. What's the details? So it started coming quick, thick and fast.
Your reputation preceded you.
Yeah. Like, although I was down, I wasn't out. Like, people knew I was taking some time, but it wasn't a rest. People knew I was taking some time to obviously heal the mind, heal the heart, because heal the face. Like, the face was probably the first thing to heal. Everything else kind of took even more time. Just because, you're in shock. It's tough. So if you didn't get up, this is why all this sort of things happen to you. So got up from that. Got back in the saddle. Everyone kind of followed us. The reputation went out. I started wearing my Making Waves gear again. Like it was all brand new again, which it was working great. So I was there for a year.
At Nuffield?
At Nuffield, before things started.
Just before we go on to that, can I just say, I'm not going to give figures, but can I say, so at this point, he's created himself a very successful business from scratch. Very successful business. Continue.
Yeah. So it ended up, I think it was a year and a half, 15 months. I was there. No problems, no complaints, nothing but positivity coming through. Extra clients for Nuffield, for the gym memberships, for food, catering, all the rest of it. Yeah. So they were making a killing of us, which was ideal. I was happy I was back in the water. I wasn't making $1 million, but I was just pleased I was back doing what I love. I didn't care. I could have almost done it for free the way I was feeling. And just to see my kids again, you imprint on each and every one of your kids, so you don't expect them to stay with you. But if you've done it right, and they start to care about you, and then you impact on them, so you take yourself back to being 6 and 7. You're their coach now. You're telling them about PBs. If I had me teaching me when I was younger, I'd have been UK squad stuff, because the drive is there with the coach. They're not just there filling in numbers. A lot of the time, you used to get coaches come on poolside who were just parents. And they were only there for their kids. And then once that kids had finished swimming, they'd sack it off. But they were only there because the kid was swimming anyway, so they just helped on poolside. They weren't, the nitty gritty. They didn't give that much. But, each to their own. So, where was I? Nuffield. Yes, 15 months in, everything going well. I was working 7 days a week. So it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think we started off with 2 teachers, then we went to 3, then we went to 5. I think it must have been 10 days before Christmas. Oh, it was 10 days before Christmas. I got an email or a letter come through saying, Nuffield now want to take, they're giving us my 3-month notice that by the 31st of March 2000, I think it was 15, Making Waves will obviously not be, Nuffield and Making Waves will not be no longer in the partnership. I thought, oh shit, we're here again. My world just opened up again, fell right between us, and I didn't know what to do. Panic had set in. So I thought, you know what? Last time I let it I let myself lose my other business. I let it happen. I walked away from it, and I thought, you know what? This time, I'm going to send an email. I'm going to do something about this, because the only person that's going to fight for my business is me, because I'm the only one that's got anything in it. I'm just a number to some people. But so I sent an email saying, look, I don't know if you know what I'm doing. It went straight down. I sent it straight at the head. It went boom, straight at the top spider, which I felt nervous doing, but what chance did I have? It was panic stations. I had 3 months to either sort my life out, go somewhere else, or stand up and fight. So it was fight or flight. So this time, I, the tiger, I went for it. Sent them an email just saying, look, I don't know if you know what's going on. Don't know if you know if I'm here. You're making X amount of money off us a month. We're an asset to the team. We'll help you out. We're clean. We do everything we can, and we do it really, really well. I urge you to have a look at my Facebook post. I urge you to have a look at my pages. It's important. Nobody else is going to stand up and let you know about us, so I'm going to do it. So it was kind of the one last fight thing. So Christmas went. I got a phone call between Christmas and New Year saying, Scott, can you come in? So I went in, and I had a look, and the guy slid us a bit of paper across. It was my email that I'd sent to head office. And he looked at us and he was like, I've just received this. And that was me then having to look him square in the eyes and say, you weren't going to fight for us. You weren't going to do nothing. If I was teaching your kids to swim, you would have sent that email, not me. If I had any sort of imprint on you, if I was doing anything positive for you or your family, you would have done something about it instead of me. I says, I'm sorry, but if this is what's going to happen, then I'm not going to be afraid to speak on it now. If I walk out this door now, you know why I've done it. And he was like, right. I says, look, if it's a money thing, if it's a revenue thing, let's go. We'll talk about increasing my rent if that's what the issue is. Talk to us about it. So then I went away. I got another email letting us know how much that we were staying on. So that was a massive, massive bonus. And that the rent was changing, which was fine, but it went up 220% for the same privilege for.
So was that just pulled out of thin air?
Yeah, it was just a random figure they decided. It went up by that much, and I was stunned, shocked. But at the same time, if I didn't pay it, I had nothing. So 45 grand a year, every year, £45,000 a year.
That's just to make it very clear to the listeners. That's what you're paying them.
Yeah, they're getting just for me
to rent it.
Yeah,
rent.
Just like a little section of the pool, one lane to share with the public. It wasn't my own. 45 grand a year, and then plus obviously they'll get whatever else on top of that. And I stayed there 5-6 years, and then
which gives you the listeners just a bit of an idea of how you managed to grow the business, grow the customer base, increase revenue. How many employees did you have at peak? Was it how many did you have?
12, 13
12,
staff.
I was going to say 12. Yeah, 12
back then
employees.
it was 12.
So you're employing 12 people. You're creating jobs for them.
Oh yeah.
You obviously, you're coaching the kids. You're not just coaching the kids how to swim. You're giving them life skills as well.
100%.
That's what's going on. And we don't expect these big businesses. Well, I mean, I'm saying big in the terms of local big business, not on the world level. And I understand it's not necessarily they're really interested in the that side of it. But when you look at the figures, your presence there is increasing their revenue.
Well, they had nothing in place before.
Why discourage?
Yeah, so they had nothing in place before. They did have swimming lessons, then they stopped doing them because people didn't want to teach. The Nuffield staff didn't really want to teach the swimming lessons. So I was coming in only solely wanting to do something that all of them didn't want to do anyways. So it worked out perfectly for me. I knew then, as soon as I got that letter, as soon as I managed to be back in, and then they increased my rent like that, I knew that this couldn't be the end. That I wasn't going to sit there and just like see this out, because I felt like I had a time scale on it. As much as I didn't want to believe it and thought, look, this is me home. Like, I'm not leaving from there. Like, there was signs started to show. Like, I had a big sign outside the Nuffield, like basically saying swimming lessons, make waves here, blah blah blah, all the information on there. I had some on poolside. Like, it was all lovely, everyone was happy. And then one day someone came in and decided, oh, we need to take all that down. So they just took me making wave stuff down. They took the stuff down in the swimming pool area, and I kind of thought to myself, this is the start of something. This, and you just, if as I say, if you're affecting someone in a positive way, they'll appreciate what you do. But if it's just a sign on there and it looks tatty to them, we'll just pull it down. So it was a bit fickle. It was a strange place to work. Yeah, but you stayed.
But you stayed there. So
stayed
just
there.
fast moving through this timeline now. Is so you're there for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
You created a very successful and a very reputable swimming coaching business.
Yeah.
And then just before we get on to the next email that you got, which I was actually there when you received it.
Shit, you were,
if you remember. Just before we get on to that, because that's going to bring us towards the end of the podcast, because it's about entrepreneurship. Our third main sponsor is Skyline Loft Conversion. Skyline is a high-end loft conversion company who have over 30 years experience in this industry, with over 900 jobs completed as far, all to the most exclusive and highest possible standards. The company is a family-run business located in the northeast of England. From simple loft conversions to custom-built fitted wardrobes, they always serve the customer to their specific needs. No need to look elsewhere. The sky truly is the limit. You can contact them on Facebook at Skyline Loft Conversions, and you can also find them on Instagram at Skyline Loft Conversions. So let's talk a little bit now, because this podcast on a whole is aimed towards training and sport and things. As I say, tonight is about entrepreneurs, and that's what we're focused on. But you've trained. You also work out. Obviously, you swim. You were a competitive swimmer in the past, but you have trained with me for the last 2 decades or a decade and a half.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
And you've come to see me fight professionally as well. You've supported me at one of my last fights, actually. So just a little bit. Do you want to just talk a little bit about the training? Not so much, just what it's done for you, and training with Team Alpha. This isn't an endorsement, but just honestly what it's done from the physical, the emotional side, the kind of training that you've done, how you've seen your body change, and when you've come to watch and support me fight, what you thought of that, and because I know you box as well, you train in boxing too. You've done some sparring, and just an idea of what it's done for you, and what you've got from it, and what you've drawn from it.
Of course, it's therapy. It's therapy. It's when it's nice to have a whipping post to just be able to, how's your day going? We're on a level, we share the same birthday, we're kind of, there's that energy that we quite understand each other, even though we don't have to say much, not in a gay way. Perhaps James is probably in a gay way, but not me. No, but I know when something's up, and vice versa, and the challenges that we get hit with all the time. The first thing you want to do is break.
I never worked for Bang Brothers. You did.
Yeah, I was the driver.
There you go.
So
continue.
Yeah, it's helpful because all you want to do is smash the place up, self-destruct. I guess doing the boxing, doing the training, having some kind of focus, it stops you self-destructing, and it allows you to destruct outside of your body instead. You come away from training knowing that you've done well, knowing that you feel better, knowing that you've got whatever problems was was around, you've kind of seen a different approach, either whether we've spoke about it during the sessions or before we hit the bag or before we get into the sessions. Like, taking aggression out's important because it's not often your days are going your way all the time for 24 hours. You know, there's always a good few hours in there that start to pick your brains and pull you apart, which can affect you emotionally, can affect you physically, but then it starts affecting you mentally. So if you're not leading the mental fight, then everything else kind of goes with it. I mean, I know there's been plenty of times where I haven't wanted to come training and I've, wallowed in self-pity, but, picking yourself up and actually doing it, and, it is helpful for you as well, I'm sure, but at the same time, training well, knowing that you want to either put weight on, knowing that you want to either strip the fat off you, looking at progression photos and thinking, do you know what, this is working, I need to try a little bit more. It does give you that PB, whereas you're not in the water, you're not a competitive swimmer anymore. You've got to have that focus somewhere in your adult life. But because, I don't know, because it's in your DNA, you want to do it anyways, as opposed to you thinking about, oh, do you know what, like nobody wants to get up in the morning. 9 times out of 10, everyone's like, oh, I can't be asked for today. Well, a good way of starting it. The only way is up from there, then, isn't it? Mm. So anything you do in a positive, you're going to feel that benefit straight away. So it kind of maintains homeostasis. Do your pH levels at 0, like you're there, as opposed to you feeling sort of acidic or too lazy and too cool about everything, because life doesn't stop and it catches you up if you try to take a day off. If you try to take, if you try to cheat it will catch you up, and then you sink or swim, isn't it? Mm. So. Yeah, with regards to the training, it is a godsend that I have got that, and I do work with it, and I can see the differences when I train hard and I train differently, and you give it a persistent few weeks, you can really see the body change. And we had a good summer a couple of years ago where I was saying, look, I need to get myself trimmed down across the stomach. I need to start doing hill sprints. We need to start getting this shite off my body and making sure that I look good on a photo, which is so vain to say, but because that's your PV, you're aiming for it, and then it's not about the photo, it's about you then, because you're walking around with it, as opposed to it's under you, as opposed to on holiday you've got a couple of nice snaps where you've got abs there, that's great, but because you're grafted, you're walking around with that all the time.
Absolutely, and I think we should celebrate that. Just it's personal choice. I mean, if a person, so in this case, obviously, for if a male wants to improve his physique and have that kind of, superhero physique, however you want to term it, that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That should be celebrated. And if that's your goal, then it's what's the word? It's a not a lofty goal, but it's a fine goal to have, and that should be encouraged. It shouldn't be discouraged. I think certainly I did as a kid, I read comic books and I would see pictures of, Captain America or Superman and have those physiques and say that, and we're drawn to that type of physique. I mean, we are from for evolutionary reasons, and there's no shame in saying that. However, for those who choose not to have that physique, then that's fine too. It's your personal choice. And I don't think it's vain to have. I don't think it's vain to say that at all. I think that's an aspiration, just as it's not vain to want to increase your intelligence. It's not vain to want to increase your knowledge. It's not vain to want to increase your revenue. It's not vain to want to increase your friendships circle. It's an admirable goal. That's what I was.
The same people that would look at you and think, "Oh God, look at him. He must train 7 days, 8 days a week and eating all them protein. He must be on steroids." You get that. They're the same people that won't get up off the couch to try to take one, and their lifestyle shows that. It'll be, no disrespect, it'll be takeaways every night. It'll be right. I'm just going to work, slob about, watch the tally. That's it. With no drive, like they'll be scrolling through their phones and just with envy and jealousy, being like, I don't like the way they look because they don't look like that, but they don't want to put the graft in to do it. Like I would never say I was 100% committed, but I would at least give it a good 80% where my head was focused enough to do it all the time. But I think it's more fighting instinct where you're 100% committed and you've got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go do that hour and a half run because in a 25-minute fight, it's going to help you out massively. Whereas I haven't got that to that kind of level to go to.
Yes.
So I can just maintain more of a 70-80% and stay focused, stay trim and all that.
It doesn't have to be 100%. You can do it. I mean, just briefly before we finish, because I want to talk about So you train, you do weights, strength and conditioning, you do all that type of stuff, and you do some boxing, you've done some sparring. And I mentioned before you came to support me at one of my fights. How did you feel about seeing it live? So I don't know if you've ever been to a fight show before. It was a pro fight. It was a comeback fight against a good high class European fighter. K1 Rules, I think it was in Sunderland. And
It was.
he graciously came down.
It was Ray Meadows or something, wasn't it? It was Ray
Yeah.
Meadows.
What did you think of the show and the seeing it live?
So, yeah, obviously I've seen fights before. I've seen them inside the ring, outside the ring. Unfortunately, I've been in them outside the ring, but I've never been inside the ring to fight. Obviously, because it was you, it was like, you know, you'd watch fighting on the telly, you'd watch fighting in an arena, and you wouldn't care who the two people were punching each other as long as they punched each other. Whereas when if you've got a relationship like ours, it's almost like not brotherish, but it's almost, you know, it's up there. So when you're watching that happen, it's more. I felt weird. I felt uncomfortable. I felt we couldn't speak. We crossed eyes, and I couldn't speak to you. I remember that. You came out. You were getting ready to go in, and I looked at you, and you just looked at me, and I didn't want to come in, and you were just looking at us, and I just give you a nod, and you were like, "I know, right, okay, cool." And then I had to leave it until you'd finished your fight, and you know, it was an amazing fight. It was great to watch, but you know, your heart's in your mouth, so I can't imagine how your daughter was feeling by that ringside. She was there screaming, "Go on, Dad!" And it was, you know, I can't imagine how that was for her, watching her dad getting punched in the face. But at the same time, watching her dad, you know, lay the smack down. So it's one of those, and it was awkward for me to watch that fight, but I was very, very proud that you could do it, because I couldn't. I don't feel like I could have gotten that ring. Like, I'm sure I will one day. I'll get a collar and tie one going one time. I'll get into it, but I wasn't chasing dreams like what you were. Like.
That's given, man. I think that'd be a good goal for us to have maybe in the future, maybe next year.
Yeah, man.
You get a good charity kind of, you know, something going on like that. That would be interesting.
I'll have to get up at 6 o'clock and give it that 100% thing.
100%.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Let's just finish off. I want to talk. So just to finish on the entrepreneurial side of it. So we're going back to Nuffield now. You've got a successful business. Your rent's been increased by 220%. You get another email from them. So let's finish off going from that email, which was just before Christmas, to where we are right now.
Yeah, so COVID's been crazy as well.
And then I'm just going to get your social media details, etc.
Quickly before I got that email, obviously I knew when the first time when they increased me rent, I knew that wasn't going to be home forever. So I kind of started looking down different avenues. So then I went to Sandy Bay. I've got a site at Sandy Bay. I've also got a site at Whitley Bay. So, excuse me. Within the Parkdean Resorts at Sandy Bay Caravan Park and Whitley Bay Caravan Park, Making Waves was also in there too. So I wanted to reach out. We'd do parent and baby sessions in those classes and stuff, and we do with swimming clubs in there, the swim development stuff and all the rest of it. So I wanted to fingers in pies, as I say, because if you lose one and I've only got one, I've got none left. If I've got 3 or 4 and I lose one, I've got 3 left. Do you know what I mean? It's a numbers game, isn't it? So obviously the same sort of protocols over there with similar sort of arrangements, slightly different in time, slightly different in, you know, access to the pool and stuff like that. So though the rent's being paid accordingly, but they haven't changed. The Parkdean rents didn't change. They've maintained the same time all the time, which is, you know, it's been good. I've been grateful. So yeah, I had Whitley Bay, Sandy Bay, and Nuffield. So the email I got, or the message I got. Well, you were there.
It was a message actually.
It was a voicemail, wasn't it?
Yes, voicemail.
Voicemail.
Middle of training. Actually,
we'd just started training. It was 9 o'clock in the morning. 10 to 9, and I'd looked on my phone. It said, "Oh, you got a voicemail from work." And I looked at you and I thought, "Work don't ring me. Like, unless there's a problem, work don't ring us." And I've got a voicemail, so I better just listen to it before I get started with this. So I had a listen, and it was basically, "Oh, can you come in for a quick chat? Please get here before 2 o'clock. Need to have a word with you if that's possible." So it was one of them sinking feelings, James, wasn't it? Like, you were there, you know, it was all bouncy, and then I listened to that email, and I just looked at you, put the gloves on, and I was like, right, come on then, let's do it. And I think I threw 2 jabs and a cross, and just looked at you, and I thought, I'm not here. Like, my body is vacant right now. Like, I'm not throwing any shots. I'm not throwing any energy towards you. My energy's been sapped because now worry, anxiety, and the end's coming, and I had just felt sick. Felt really sick. So I had to cancel, didn't I? I had to say, look, I've never cancelled on you normally, but that day I had to say, look, I think it's best I go and get this sorted because it's on my mind. God knows what it could be. It didn't sound good. It didn't sound full of happiness and chirpiness. So walked in with expecting the worst, really, to be honest. Went in, sat down, and I just looked, and I was like, is this it? And I was told this is it. I was told that going to be kicked out by the end of, when was it? It was December, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it December?
Back into December.
Yeah. So I think I had 3 or 4 weeks. I think they gave us 4 weeks notice. So I had 2 weeks left. They gave us 4 weeks notice. Told us that our services were no longer required. They were going to get somebody else in from a franchise down south. She was now coming in to take over all of the Nuffields, and she was going to run our swimming lessons out of there. And she was going to do group lessons. She was going to have half of the pool. The pool was going to be split. They were going to do groups of 8. They were going to do 2-to-1s. Everything changed. Like the goalposts had moved completely for this new company. And I was like, well, I didn't do group lessons because I didn't want to stand on anyone's toes. I didn't want to get involved in sort of pissing anyone off. It was their pool as much as it was mine. I was showing decorum. And yeah, so I got absolutely shooed. I pretty much had to lay off all my staff, just tell everyone that game's over. Like, sorry about the bad news. This is the worst thing that's ever happened, and they've proper stitched us. And that's what happened. And unfortunately, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon of trying to support us and, you know, save making waves, if you like. There was no petition or anything made. There wasn't a poll or anything like that. But I had to put an honesty post out. I didn't want to lie, so I didn't. But I told the honest truth about everything that had happened and what making waves has ended up, you know, how I ended up being hit with this crossroads. It was no fault of my own. I'd done everything, ticked the boxes, paid the rent on time. There was no late payments. It was all just, I think, someone had made a decision down south and said, all right, do you know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to run with it. I like the idea. Let's go. So it was taken completely out of my hands. And do you know what? That time, I didn't fight for it. I let it go because what's the point? I never felt like I was doing a good job. It was difficult when you felt like you weren't wanted or you weren't wanted there by management. It was hard because there was always that, you know, you always had to put that smiley face on. You always had to make sure that you were shit hot, making sure, because it was a members gym. You're not in there to mess around. So we made sure we did the job to the best of our ability and not bother anyone as much as we possibly could. So yeah, I had to let everyone know that was that. So that was the Tuesday morning. Tuesday mid-morning, I started ringing people. I started ringing swimming pools. In not a blind panic, in a controlled panic. I wasn't blind on what I was doing. I knew exactly what I was doing, but I knew I had to do it quick, and I knew I had to act fast. There's no point me sitting around for 4 weeks and letting this all go. So, because the place is going to shut down, schools will shut down, and all the rest of it. So I kind of turned head and was like, right, I'm going to go for this. As I say, eye of the tiger. When you put your head in your hands, it's the first thing you see. So I've got a couple of tattoos you cannot see, but we'll talk about them a different time. The tattoos, I'm like, yeah, pointing at my hands like as if you can see what's going on. But so yeah, I had to lay everyone off. But I was straight on the phone on the Tuesday, and then I managed to bag the weekends at a different venue straight away. I had 2 meetings organised, and I had about 8 no's, which was expected. But the meetings I managed to have talk-throughs on the phone explaining what I did. Emailed like business plan, business forum, business formats. Have a look at that. Tell us what you think. If it needs amended, look, these are just penciled in. These are just guidelines. I can do whatever you want. I'm not here to step on anyone's toes. I'm here to help you make some money. Like, if you've got a waiting list, then there's no harm in me coming in to help out because they're not in the pool anyways. If you've got swimming teachers that don't want to teach, there's a job for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll come in and do what they don't want to do anyways. So it kind of worked in my favour. So I made a couple of phone calls, ended up getting Benfield School on a weekend. And then in the back end of February, I managed to get into bike at East End Pool, up at JLL with Better Leisure. Fantastic. It's, but as I say...
And then can I just jump in here? And so you've basically made those phone calls, you've taken it in hand, you've reset up your business. You've got those other 2 running at Sandy Bay and Whitley Bay.
That's right, yeah.
And you've got these new ones set up to make up for Nuffield. And then to your rescue comes COVID-19.
Yeah.
Continue.
Well, it was a bit of a... So I think I was teaching at East End Pool I was there for about 2 months. I think just you know, had everyone booked in. It was all my kids and all my clients from the Nuffield. It was the adults included. Everyone moved across. I don't think many of the Making Waves kids stayed when this new swimming company enterprise came in. The same swimming company enterprise that demanded reserve payments whilst COVID was going on and all the buildings were shut. We'll keep it unnamed, but that's
keep it unnamed.
That's what's now going
class,
on with yeah. So bit of class there, The person that I'm sure she's already he could be could be either. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but I'm sure he's got plenty of money. So I don't know why they would want to try and get some more, anyways, because COVID has smashed the whole place up.
So what position are you in now? Where are we now?
So what was it? August,
end of August.
So we got hit and it was leisure centres closed. I was teaching a doctor, actually it was a GP who I was teaching, who said, Scott, there's a shitstorm coming your way. The place is going to be shut down. And I was like, nah, it's not. It'll never happen. I was like, it's happening. Like, we've been warned it's going to happen. So be prepared. So I was thinking to myself, right, what do? I'm just going to go with this. Got the point in my arm again that says just go with it. So there's nothing I could do. I says when I was at JL and better, I says, look, this is going to happen. We're going to close down. Even they were like, nah, they'll never close this place, man. They want the money. Everyone wants the money, man. They'll not close. Boom, closed. So then Park Dean closed, Whitley Bay closed, Benfield closed, East End closed. After a month of us just getting back on my feet, it gone again. So we're now 6-7 months in, 6 months in.
6 months in, yeah.
So it was only last week we got back at Benfield. So that's only 2 days a week that we're running at the moment. Everywhere else is still shut. Fortunately, like when this all came out and this COVID happened, the day after, I had to literally ring everybody and tell them that they'd all been laid off. Like I could not. I've got no money.
That's not reality.
I'm not making money myself.
It's not reality.
No.
Can I just quickly? I want to interject because I know we're coming towards the end now, but I want to interject this. Think of it this way: the most cash-rich company in the world, as far as cash, is Apple, and I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of employees that they have. However, do you honestly think that if this was to continue, they would keep all their staff and pay them all? Of course they won't. Well, it's irrelevant even if you're a very cash-rich company. It's not business-wise to keep people on who aren't creating revenue for you just to be a good guy. I mean, don't get me wrong. There should be consideration for that. But, so it's no shame of a business who've created their own business or a small business or medium business who need to do that out of necessity.
No. Well, to be fair, with you saying that as well, when Sandy Bay and Whitley Bay both closed, they closed in November. Like pre-COVID, they would close in November and then open again in March. Now, I would pay my staff that worked at those sites full wages, not being at work. It was in with thousands, James. But
yeah, because you're able to, because not just because you're a good guy, because you're doing the right thing as a business owner, because you expect the revenue then to come back.
Yeah, but at the same time, the staff need to know that, money's coming in. You've got to understand you're in a fortunate position where I can do that. Whereas you can't, with COVID coming in, there's no way I could have done
point.
that. Yeah,
that's my point.
Split by 5 or 6. It was a case of, right, guys, I'm going to have to let you go. It was it was one of the hardest things I had to do, but at the same time, what am I supposed to do? Everyone's in the one boat. I mean, people have been fortunate where COVID's hit them, but hasn't hit them harder in the pocket or in the wallet, or some people have worked all the way through and they haven't had a break. Now, don't get us wrong, when it first started, I thought, oh, lovely, a couple of weeks off, the world's going to stop for 2 weeks, and I thought, this is going to be a bit of paradise. Like, the world's never stood still, like it needs to. Like, it's over-churning, it's overworking, all of it, and just having that world slow down thing kind of, I don't know, I enjoyed it. But then you think, right, joke's over now. When's life coming back here? And then you start thinking, right, I'm cutting into things and I'm not making. And I'm into my flash cars, as you know. But first thing that had to go on ice was my Jaguar that I had, because you cannot live beyond your means. You cannot pretend that you've got something that you're not.
Well, you can, but you'll pay.
But you live in the minus, yeah. You live in the minus. Then as far as people go as overdrafts and credit cards, it's not even real money. It's not theirs. They just use it. Like, some people are sitting there, it would be something that it wouldn't sit well with us at all.
Well, you could make an argument that money's not real money if you look at Federal Reserve, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah. Wouldn't go on it. When's the conspiracy theory?
Well, I don't like that word.
We'll have an episode.
We'll do that on another one. We'll have that on another one. We'll do that. I'll get a bottle of something and we'll have a.
I'll bring all the bells and whistles. There could be a 3 or 4 hour podcast. That.
But yeah, so where are we? So what situation are we in now?
Yeah, so I'm just hoping for start dates. That's what I'm waiting for. Obviously, we've done all our risk assessments. We're doing things above and beyond what's been recommended as far as Swim England, our Institute of Sport goes, and what they say and do. We're going beyond that where it's not necessary, but it's super necessary. I don't want to be the first. I mean, I know you've seen some bad press in the Chronicle and stuff saying that Miller and Carter, oh my God, the coronavirus, someone tested positive over there with that. Like, they got rinsed. Like, the Miller and Carter got absolutely smashed to bits, like, verbally, just slagged them off. And, that's detrimental. It really is. Like, people would, if they said, do you fancy going to Miller and Carter? The first thing they say is, oh, did you hear that thing about in the Chronicle? And then they go, oh, yeah, no, we'll not go there, we'll go somewhere. Like, it's detrimental to business, so I don't want to be a face of that. I don't want to be, in the Chronicle for all the wrong reasons and being like, oh, someone tested positive for coronavirus, it's making waves, boom, no one's going to want to come. So go above and beyond, and then you're not leaving yourself liable. So that's where we're at. We're waiting. I mean, the parks are open. Park Dean's open, Sandy Bay is open, and Whitley Bay is open, but just to the public at the moment because obviously they're reducing the numbers and things like that. So we will be coming back. I'm hoping it's September because the concession said that it was September. So I'm hoping to go back then in September, and then I'm not sure about East End. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to make sure that the 3 swimming pools that are open are running at capacity and have got as much, and they're full because, before it broke off a few years ago, some of the sites was only running at 20%, 40%, and I wasn't aware of it because I was just concentrating on my thing and just doing my lessons and having whereas now I think I need to adapt it slightly. I've learned a lot of lessons, so it was I need to make sure that what happens with making waves before I start work is concrete in there. The foundations are there, so I don't start breaking again. Do you know what I mean? So the DJing stopped and all. So the nightclubs and everything else that stopped when they closed. No sign of them opening up yet at the moment. Just a waiting game, isn't it, James? But
yeah.
You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know if we're going to get the second wave and all that jazz. I just want to get on with it, mate, to be honest. But it's tough, mate. This is probably the hardest time I've had, but not hardest because I'm overworked. Hardest because the world's a weird place right now. Like
it is. I mean, that's going to be another podcast.
Another podcast. I'm knocking on the door for that, aren't I? We're going to go down here.
We got to keep this pretty concise. But so one question I ask everybody who comes in. It's similar question to ask everybody who comes in. What advice would you give to somebody out there, boy, girl, high school, college, maybe younger, maybe older, that's looking to... Well, actually, this is a question I ask tonight's podcast. It's about entrepreneurs. Advice would you give them that they're looking to start their own business? And then you just finish off by giving us your social media addresses and the website for Making Waves, which we'll also have in the description.
Yeah, sure. So my advice to anyone who was me at 19...
Who was... Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Do that. So, I like that better.
I would say don't wait for a yes. Don't wait for a yes. Don't ask a question and wait for one yes.
Knowledge.
Go and get your yes. It's the only way it's good. Nothing comes to you for free. Nothing comes to you. It doesn't. You might have that energy, but you've got to go out and find someone that's on that energy at the same time, that feels the same way about something and is passionate, because you can talk to someone and you can rile someone up. If you look someone in the eyes and you tell them how passionate about you are, and you're confident about it, and you know what you're talking about, and you've got drive, and you've got self-belief, you've got drive, you've got self-belief, people will believe in you. That's how presidents and all that, people create crowds, speakers, all the rest of it, get followings. So if you kind of speak in the right mind and you've got belief in something, you might get a no for the first 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. But if you see someone face to face, you might have that conversation with them and they might have a completely different outlook. If you're going to get meetings, if you're going to send emails, I would try and back it up with a face to face. And don't read off a script. If you've got planning, you've got preparation, you can have all that there with you, but don't read the script. Don't look down, look in their eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's be a people person. It's, they've got to understand the forte, but take as many knocks as you can. When you get knocked down, it's getting back up, isn't it? You probably did that when you're fighting. You get down, you got 10 seconds to get back up again, mate. And, it's your choice whether or not you do, and what kind of fighter are you if you don't.
That's a good way to end it. Can we have the quote again, please, from Jack Dempsey? A champion is someone who gets up even when he can't.
There you go.
And
Oh, you want the socials?
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say that again. So I want to end with Jack Dempsey, but I want to say again what Scott said. Scott Aitken, Mr. Scott Aitken, director, owner, Making Waves. Go get your yes.
That's right. Aye.
Go get your yes. And just ending with this, Jack Dempsey. A champion is someone who gets up when he can't. Scottie, my man, thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man. I know you've got a lot going on. I appreciate you coming through to the studio with myself and
It's nice. It's the first time I've been
Callum.
here. I don't think it'll be the last. I quite like it, to be honest.
We'll get some training done in there.
100%.
Can I just, before I do my thank yous, can I just get you just to give me your social media, your www.
Yeah, sure. So I haven't got a website because everything's kind of now social media oriented.
Yeah.
It seems to be the way the world flies for me, especially when, if you're running such groups like swimming lessons and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, you type in Making Waves, it's normally the first thing that comes up on Facebook. There's about 4 or 5 different columns. So we do the baby classes, we do one-to-ones, the 3 different venues. There'll obviously be the Making Waves Hub, which is obviously the Benfield one, and we've got Making Waves Whitley Bay and Making Waves Sandy Bay. And we also have Making Baby Waves, which is obviously the Ben's classes. So there's 4 of them to look out for on Facebook.
Facebook, yeah. So just go on Facebook and type in Making Waves and find your page. Now there's several. Did that Making Waves and then type in your name? Perhaps is there other Making Waves out there? Or?
I don't know. I think if you type your name into Google, my accident will probably come up.
Well, I was thinking more into Facebook. We don't want to see what comes out.
Yeah,
on that.
no.
I'm
sure if you type my name, obviously I go by an alias. I don't kind of go by me.
Scottie Hollywood. So if you go on Facebook, type in Making Waves or Scottie Hollywood, you'll be able to find the link to the Facebook page.
Yeah, because obviously it says where I work, and it'll say Making Waves on there. So yeah, I go as an alias. It's quite nice to have an alias.
It is nice, and it's a good alias for you. It suits
thanks,
you.
Man.
It suits you.
Did I tell you how that came about or not? That's another podcast.
That's another podcast. Right, listen, I want to say a big thank you to my good friend Scott Aitken, Scottie Hollywood. I want to say a big thank you to my man Callum Casey running the decks at a high level as always, and helping to find the info when we needed it. And I want to say thank you to our earlier guest, Amy Fettis. It's been great. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hopefully this will be up by either on the weekend or early next week, whatever the day. You're going to see August podcast. Looking forward to the next podcast. We're looking at September time, and we'll be putting some posts up for our guests on there. So thank you tonight. Hope you've enjoyed it.
And remember, James, remember, go get your yes.
Go get your yes. That's it.